Welcome back to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. And now let's start with the first story. It's called Mandatory Lunch. I'm a utility line locator. I have a company vehicle that I drive from home to my first job site, which is assigned through a ticketing system on my work laptop. Throughout the day I visit about 30 different sites, and then I drive home after finishing my last job. Company policy states that we clock in at our first ticket and clock out at our last ticket. This makes sense. Most companies don't pay employees for their commute. To enforce this rule, there's an automated system that alerts your supervisor if you clock in more than 10 minutes before arriving at your first ticket, or you are more than a half mile away from your first ticket when you check in. I've been doing this job for about 2 years, and for most of that time, lunch breaks were optional. Then, about 4 months ago, management started enforcing mandatory lunches. Apparently, they had always been required, but no one enforced them. We had a big Zoom meeting where they told us they know we stop for lunch even if we don't clock out. Lunch breaks are now required, no exceptions. Lunch must be taken before 2 PM. And of course, there's an automated system that alerts the supervisor if you don't take a lunch or you take it after 2 PM. So I came up with a simple and effective workaround. I clock in at home, but don't clock in at any tickets. I immediately clock out for lunch. I drive to my first ticket. Once my lunch break ends, I clock back in and then check in at my first ticket. Here's why it works. The system only tracks on the clock minutes, so my lunch break isn't counted as time between clocking in and arriving at my first ticket. Since my lunch was taken before 2 PM, there's no notification to my supervisor. I've been doing this for 3 months and no one has said a word. The next story is called Product Test. I used to work for a company that was always innovating, both with its employees and its technology. I had a busy job that involved a lot of travel. Each office had computers that employees like me used to manage our complex tasks and travel arrangements, which were core functions of the company. One day I was at an office where IT had set up a small table with a sign asking for 5 minutes of our time to help improve the computers. I volunteered and they had me sit down in front of a notebook that mimicked a redesigned computer screen. The IT testers asked me to interact with the mock-up just as I would with a real computer. They wanted to see if their new design was user-friendly without additional training. I tapped the buttons on the page mock-ups and they flipped to the next screen in their notebook. All the while they used a stopwatch and took notes. I successfully logged in and navigated the menus. But when I tried to use a function, I got stuck in an endless loop. Whenever I tried to go back, they flipped between 2 pages, each with a back button that wasn't actually taking me where I needed to go. At that point I stood up, grabbed my bags and started to leave. They quickly asked me to stay and complete a feedback questionnaire. I told them I already had. If I had encountered a real computer like that at work, I would have just gone to another computer, leaving my login active and compromising security, because I simply didn't have time to figure out what was wrong. They insisted they needed more information to get it right. I told them I agreed and walked away. That redesign never got implemented. The last story is called Manglement. Sometimes it's not just software developers who can be short-sighted. Management can fall into that category too. My company decided to upgrade our email processing system to a more sophisticated program than what we had been using. Before rolling it out, everyone had to be trained, and I was scheduled for one of the classes, which of course was delayed. Enter management. They decided to run a test on the new program, so they asked my team to switch over to it for 2 hours to see how it would perform. The first 2 times I raised my hand and asked if I could stay on the old system, since my training wasn't until next week. My request was granted. The third time, however, my training had been delayed again, by the same manager. Let's call him Paul. This time my request to stay on the old system was denied. I told Paul I have no idea how to use the new system. I haven't been trained, but he insisted I use it anyway. It might as well have been the controls of a spaceship. Nothing was labeled, and I had no idea what any of the icons meant. I could see the incoming emails and I knew how to type, so I replied to one, and then just sat there doing nothing. After about 20 minutes of sitting unproductive, Paul walked up to me and asked, "Why aren't you answering emails?" I said, "I did, it's right here." He asked, "Why didn't you send it and move on to the next email?" I replied, "I don't know how. As I keep telling you, I haven't gone through the training." Oh well, I needed a break from work anyway. Sometimes the best way to make your point is to let them see the problem for themselves. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. Also, if you want to support me further, check out the channel membership or Patreon. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.